Power to the truth. This is Sunday, September 9th, 2018, and this is Margo. And tonight we're going to do an Arctic sea ice update and a climate cast report. As we know, we're coming towards the end of the traditional melt season for the Arctic sea ice, and it's slowing down up there, but I'm still going to be reporting on it for as long as I have data for it. And NASA Worldview is they'll be getting less data in on the North Pole as the Earth is tilting away from the sun, and then they'll go into their nighttime for several months as we're coming into daytime in the South Pole. So there will be several months where we don't have anything from NASA Worldview, but we can report from other ways, like from Climate Reanalyzer and also from the Navy website and some other places, to be looking at the sea ice and snow cover as best we can. So what I have here is a picture of the Arctic sea ice from Climate Reanalyzer from today, Sunday, September 9th, and I'm just going to go backwards in this slideshow so that you can see where we came from, and you can see that it's still melting even though it's slowing down. See, as we go backwards, it's getting more ice, and just in different areas. So there's from 2 weeks ago, August 26th. So let's go forward in this slideshow now, and you'll be able to see how the ice has changed. And we've had some storms up there and some rain and different things. It is getting colder, but as we saw from the report I presented, or one of the articles I presented in my Campfire Chat show, is that it is warming from underneath because of the warmer water coming in from the oceans and mixing with the water underneath. So the sea ice is definitely warming from underneath, and so it's continuing to melt, even maybe at a slower rate, but it's continuing to melt even in the winter time. So there will be some refreezing, but you know, we just don't know how long this melt season is going to last this year. It may go longer, it may cut off pretty soon. I just really don't know. But Paul Beckwith did a series of videos recently where he really analyzes the Arctic sea ice and analyzes the volume and the extent and the thickness and all of that, and talks about how it's thinned out and gotten so thin and spread out that it's deceiving to look at the extent and to think that we're okay, because we're not okay when it's a meter or less thick. That's not okay, because it's the thinnest than it's ever been. So I've got some more things loaded up in my slideshow here. Here it is, the Navy chart, the sea ice thickness from today, and we can see the purple and the lavender is under a meter and more like half a meter, and we can see that we do have a little area left over here on the west side, and it's quite thin and quite lacy looking, and it's just hardly solid there. And when I show you that on NASA World View, you're going to be amazed because you're going to see lots of space in between the chunks of ice all around here. And we'll also be able to see where it's either refreezing back up here on the north part of Greenland, or the waves and the wind are pushing the ice over next to the shore. And we can see it's coming back, the thicker ice is coming back here on the northern part of Greenland. We can see it going into red now, and that's about 4 meters thick. We're getting a little teeny bit of red over here. And it's starting to freeze in these little tributaries as well. But it's real, that old sea ice is gone, and it's not there anymore. So here's this 30-day animation, and it goes to 7 days in advance. So let me pause this. Here we are on the 6th, and I'm just going to go forward slowly. There's the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th. And that's the end. And so you can see it just kind of settles in this pattern. And so this year it's melted way in on this northeast quadrant. This is the farthest in it's registered on this northeast quadrant, and it's come way in because this is the 80-degree north latitude line there. And we lost almost everything over here above Alaska, except for just a little tiny bit there. And then this area, I was surprised that we didn't lose this area over here on the left. But there's that. So now I've got Climate Reanalyzer pulled up. We're just going to go around the planet doing our ClimateCast update, and we'll also look at NASA Worldview and look at the sea ice when we get there too. Now we're starting out here on this northern view. These are the maximum temperatures, 2 meters. We can see it's starting to cool off in the Arctic, as we expect it to, but we still have a lot of green color, which is about 5 degrees C, and this is the air temperature that's coming in this Arctic region, so it's still quite warm. And we can see quite warm temperatures up here in Siberia. They're probably warmer than they should be. Now this is the maximum temperature for today. And we'll just click around the world, and we can see that it's quite warm over here in North America. Africa has had record heat this summer. All around the world we've had record heat. Look at India and these Saudi Arabian countries, Middle East, China. These areas down here, we've had a lot of earthquake activity on this ring of fire. We are going to be looking at earthquakes today as well. Here's South America. It's quite warm, quite hot. And here's the Antarctic. Oh, I didn't. Let me go back and show Australia. I have to go up. It's quite warm up in the northern region. Now let's look at the 2-meter temperature anomaly, and we can see where places are warmer than they should be, and up here in northern Siberia, and this is the East Siberia ice shelf here, East Siberia Sea here, where all that methane is. It's very warm. We still have a lot of melting permafrost up there. Greenland is warmer than it should be, but things are starting to cool down somewhat around the world, just depending on where you're located. We can still see that parts of Africa are still quite warm, and parts across Europe and these areas here are still quite warm. And South America, and then we have this western part of Alaska is warmer than normal, and the southern island of New Zealand is warmer than normal. And then we have this this anomaly going on in Australia. This is the Western Peninsula, and I just finished doing a report on the Larsen ice shelves coming apart there, and the big iceberg that's come off of the Larsen Sea and swinging around, and it's dislodged, and we see that that whole area is warmer than it should be, and so it's even in the red zone. And then the east side is warmer than it should be too. So there's stuff going on that's totally not normal. Here's our precipitation and clouds, and I'm not a meteorologist, so I'm not going to get into all the potential hurricanes and cyclones and typhoons and all of that. I mean, there are other people who are reporting on that, but we do see that it is raining, and we got a little, the green is the rain and the blue is snow. So we're getting some rain up here in the Arctic and just a little bit of snow right now. And you know, we've got all these weather systems and hurricanes coming in, and you know, Japan got slammed, and we need to pray for everyone over in Japan and all the people that got killed in the typhoon and the earthquakes and the mudslides, and everyone that got displaced, and they're not out of the woods, and there have been lots of earthquakes just all around the ring of fire, and it's just, we're heading into hurricane season. It's that time of year. So you want to see the jet stream, here you go. Here it's looping around this very strange pattern here from the Arctic. Like I said, I'm not a meteorologist. I'm just going to kind of go through and show some of these pictures so that people can get an idea of what's going on. And then if they want to look at anything in more detail, they can. Here's our snow and ice cover. We'll go around the world looking at that. It's totally different when you look at it from this Russia side. Looks pretty clear from this side. then here is the Antarctic, and down here there's it's melting quite rapidly right here on that tip of the peninsula there. And then we have the sea surface temperatures. Let's look at the sea surface temperature anomalies. And these are the sea surface temperatures that are warmer than they should be. And we can see even up here in the Arctic, even though they're going into their cooling season, the water is still warmer, much warmer than it should be. See the red up here? And off of Siberia, and it's really extending and then coming in from the Pacific through the Bering Strait, and then it's just gathering red all around the edges on the Russian side. And then we can see all around the planet where it's gathering on the coastlines, it's red. And in these inland seas, it's red. It's much higher than it should be. And see down here in Baja and coming up through this Baja Peninsula, it's red. And then brown on the outside. It's even red down here off the coast of South America. So there's that. So now we've already looked at the Navy, but we can also look at the sea ice concentration. And here we are for today. It's actually for yesterday, that's okay. And it's not very concentrated, although it is starting to come back a little bit. It's getting more orangey. So it's still a lot in the yellow zone and going down into the blues. So there's that. And now we're going to hop over to NASA Worldview. We're on the Arctic view, and this is from yesterday. Let's see what kind of data. Okay, we've got everything in from today. So I've not actually looked at today yet, so we can look at this together. We've got quite a bit that is cloud-free down here above Greenland, so we can get a view. I need a drink of water. So up here in this East Siberia Sea, look at these temperatures. This is 280 Kelvin. This is way higher than freezing, way higher. And this is where it's coming in through the Bering Strait, it looks like. Because here's Alaska over here. It's very warm. And then it's 273. That's right at freezing for fresh water. 275. So this is definitely above freezing. 273. This is right at freezing. So this was that red area on Climate Reanalyzer. So let's just zoom in and take a peek at this ice and see what we can see here. Here is that Cape Morris Jesup right here, and we can see that there is ice, or it's freezing or something, coming back along the edges here, although it's still quite broken up, but it is starting to freeze. It's getting cold enough now. There's still a lot of open areas, still a lot of chunks, because it's not very thick. And so when it refreezes now, this will be new ice. And so come the spring, when it starts melting, it'll be thinner to start with, and so it'll melt even faster. Still quite broken up here. We can still see a lot of just chunks, a lot of water. You can see it here. We're having to look through clouds. You can see occasionally we'll have breaks in the clouds. You can see these long cracks in the ice. Look at that all the way across. It's rare that you get to see that. Look at these cracks. And there are breaks in the clouds to where you can even see this is cracked ice all the way up here. Here's the North Pole. So you can see cracks in the ice. This is at 89.84. And these dark spots, those are cracks in the ice. So it's cracked all the way through. And you can even see like the chunks. You can see the space. I mean, I haven't really ever been able to see this close to the North Pole before with these chunks of ice like this. I'm sure we're looking through some clouds. No clouds here. Okay. Well, this is a rare shot here to be able to see the sea ice with no clouds, but it is fuzzy. I don't know why, but the closer you get to the North Pole, the fuzzier it gets on the image. You would think they could get that a little clearer, but maybe they don't want it clearer. So that's a rare view where we can see these chunks of ice and the water through it at this close to the North Pole. So we got very close to having a blue ocean event this year. Very close. I'm surprised it didn't happen. Frankly, I'm very surprised it didn't happen. And see, we can see these holes. So this is the sea ice on September the 9th, 2018. Here's the eastern edge. And now we've got some clouds there, right on the edge. And here's Svalbard, so see how far in it came. This is about 82.44 degrees. This is about 83. This is 82.85. So we can see there's still some little bit of sea ice up here. I can't tell what's clouds. Well, we got a lot of clouds, so it's just hard to tell. Some of that is lacy, some of it's clouds. It's mainly clouds there. Now we're coming down where you see the white, that's sea ice. Looking through those clouds. Here's a mix of sea ice and clouds. And here's that area that we didn't quite lose. It was so, look how thin and fragile it is. We didn't quite lose that. But you know, it looks like a ship could just go right through that and not need an icebreaker. That just looks like some mush to me. So I don't have a lot of confidence in that sea ice, frankly. Just looks like little speckles, and there's a lot of cloud cover there. So it's not much. Not much at all. Here's a hole. See, there's a lot of area of open water. Even looking through the clouds, you can see lots of areas of open water. Look at this. See? Here's large areas of open water. There's clouds that we're looking through. Here it is coming towards the North Pole. You can see large cracks there. And so on. So you get the idea. These tributaries, a lot of them are still ice free because it's still warm. See, that's 274 K. That's above freezing. That's the sea surface temperature. 273, that's right at freezing for fresh water. Salt water freezes at 271.5. So that's above freezing for salt water, 271.7 there. But you know, it mixes so much, it's hard to know what's what. And see, this is warm, 274. So until this sea surface temperature gets lower, that's not going to start refreezing. That's below freezing, 266. Here's 266. So we can see that's freezing back there where it's coming back some. But there are big holes. See, there's a big hole. Big hole there. It's just going to take some time. It's not going to come back overnight. And I didn't really study Greenland this year. I've got to do a report on Greenland. Maybe that'll be my next one that I study and report on. Okay, let's look at some earthquakes and cams and we'll finish this up. Here we have 30 days of magnitude 4.5 and plus around the world. The red ones are the recent ones. We had a 6.5 in the Solomon Islands. just a little while ago. It's that blue one that popped up there. That big one there. It's been very active. Here are earthquakes in the last 24 hours. So we can see all around this ring of fire and down here in that area, that the Lombok area that we reported on. And the campfire chat on Thursday, it even had an earthquake today of 4.9. So this is an active area. I want to show everybody something. If you remember the earthquake that we had in Ecuador a couple of days ago, this big one here, that 6.2. Now, over here on CAMS, and CAMS, they've got a new website up. I don't like it. You can't get to the plots view. It's all in this charts view, and the chart doesn't show up at the bottom. The scale doesn't show up at the bottom. You have to go to print, and then it takes you to a PDF version of what you were looking at, and then it shows the scale down here. But what I wanted to show you, I already had it pulled up. This is sulfur dioxide in CAMS. And this is from Friday, September 7th. And it was at 3 UTC time. Actually at 0 UTC time. This big explosion showed up right in the middle of Brazil. And that's typical of a volcanic release. But I don't know of any volcanoes there. I've shown things like this before in CAMS here in Brazil and also up in Russia. It was back in May and early June. We were seeing this in like a couple of different places in South America. Big plumes of red coming up. I never figured out what it was, but I think it could be connected with this earthquake in Ecuador. Okay, so this was from Friday the 7th, between 0 and 3 UTC time. So here's Ecuador's, and this was Friday the 7th at 2:12 UTC time. Is when that big 6.2 earthquake happened in Ecuador. And so that's right, it looks like it's right across from where the big sulfur dioxide release happened. It looks like it was right in here. So I'm thinking that those could be related. They happened right around the same time. So I just found that interesting and wanted to show that to you. So let's run some movies over here. And our sulfur dioxide data is through today, Sunday. Let's just run it from Friday. Run this movie. We'll see what else we can see. See if anything else is popping out at us. There was an explosion down here in Mexico again. Hawaii's still going off. Alaska's still going off. This thing, South Africa is still going off. And now it's going to start over. There it is. And I looked back on Thursday, and that explosion, or the sulfur dioxide plume, did not show up on Thursday, but I found it on Friday, so that's why I wanted to start the movie on Friday. So there's a lot of sulfur dioxide gathering in the atmosphere. We can see that almost the whole planet is covered in green from the sulfur dioxide. Then a lot of the planet is covered in the cream colored, which is higher, and then the golden color. And then you do have the red where you have the releases. And that sulfur dioxide will cause the ozone layer to thin out. So I wanted to show you that real quick. And now I want to show you ozone. And the ozone hole is unbelievable, you know, and my thoughts are that this ozone hole should be starting to come back, since it's starting to get some sunlight down there in the Antarctic, but it's not. It's just not. And we have data through today for ozone, and we're going to run the global view first of all, and then we're going to show the Antarctic, and it's getting worse. We can see it's still thin around the equator. That green is about, I think it's like 275. I can't remember. 250. Can't remember the scale exactly. I think it's 250, the green chartreuse. And that's Dobson units, which equates to 2.5 millimeters of good ozone through the atmosphere. This is total column. This is the good ozone. We can see it's still thin around in this Indonesia area, still thin up here in China, and we've got a thinning up here between Alaska and Russia, and then we've got the green, and that's thinner. The green is thinner. And it goes from the dark blue to the blue to purple to aqua to green. That's kind of the levels. Then once you get into the yellows, it's getting thicker. So that's better, but it's then the reds are better. They're thicker. And the total column measures the good ozone. So I'm going to print this real quick just to review these levels. Can't see that. Okay, the aqua is 220. Okay, this chart's a little different. Aqua is 220. This kind of greenish blue is 240. The green is 260. The green yellow is 280. And then the solid yellow is 300. Then the yellow gold is 320. So this chart looks a little different. This kind of purplish is 200. This blue, like that color, is 175. And then this bright blue is 150. And then below that is 125 and 100. So now we're going to go to the Antarctic view. And every time I see this, it's worse than before. I hope it starts coming back soon, because this is kind of freaking me out. I really hope it starts coming back. Remember when I started showing ozone, it was mainly the green down there, and then it turned into the blue-green, and now look how that purple is just taking over the whole area, and then the blue, and then this bright blue, which is 150. So it's getting thinner. It's definitely getting thinner. Look how far up it's coming. If that came all the way around, it would touch the tip of South America. If it would come around, it would be at that, it comes that far out that it would be touching almost. Yeah, see, if it came around, it would be touching that tip of South America. So let's just review what these readings are. This is very inconvenient. So that bright blue was 150. It's not on this view, but we did see it. This blue is 175 and the purple is 200. The aqua is 220. And they say that 300 is average. But that's not much. So I don't think we're average at all. So there's that. Now let's look at surface level ozone. We'll show everybody that. And this registers the bad ozone. And you'll see this where you have a lot of pollution. It shows up in the daytime generally because forms generally as a result of sunlight mixing with pollutants in the atmosphere. It can also show up as a result of forest fires, or it can be an indicator of volcanic activity. Now look, it popped up here in Brazil where we saw that sulfur dioxide plume. It popped up right around that same area. So there could have been connected with that earthquake, that Ecuador earthquake. even though it was to the right a little bit. It could have released it. Now watch. Here. See? That's where it was. Here, there it was. And that was on Wednesday. There it is again on Thursday. There it is again on Friday. So it looks like that's connected. There it is again on Saturday. And a little bit on Sunday. That's connected with whatever's going on there. Maybe forest fires. I don't know. Let's get a little closer on some of these areas now. Let's look at North America. And this is so inconvenient to do it this way. You know, I liked the plots view because I could just zoom in and zoom out, but you know, this is what it is, and this is what we've got, so. Here we go. Here goes our movie. This is starting from Wednesday through today. Wow. I wonder what's going on down here in Baja. Why is that surface ozone so high? Look at that. I wonder what that is down there. If anybody knows, if you can just put that in the comment section. You know, we're all studying and learning this stuff, trying to figure it out. And there's still wildfires going on up here in California, up here, and I don't know what's going on in British Columbia. I mean, we hear stuff in the news for a day or two and then it goes away. So there's that. Let's look at the other side of the world now. Let's look at East Tropic. Here we go. Surface level. We'll let that load up. Wow, there's some high readings over here in the Persian Gulf. That's where they do a lot of that oil production. And down here by Africa and Saudi Arabia. Look at that. Up here in North Africa. So it comes up in the daytime and goes down at night. That's why you see it going in a pattern like that. I wanted to get northern Russia, see what we can see, if anything's coming out of that permafrost. Let's see. I forgot what you call that area. I think it's Eastern Asia. Yeah, here we go. Actually, I wanted to get a little bit further up, but no, this is good. Here we go. Let's run this one. Then we'll look at methane and carbon dioxide, and we'll wrap this up. Well, this isn't really showing much. It's showing a lot of greens, which is kind of common for surface level. So, let's hop up to the north. Let's hop up to the Arctic. And let's see what methane looks like. We're going to go to surface level. Alright. Uh-oh. What did I do? See what we've got. We've got data for 4 days through yesterday. So let's load this up, see what we can see. So here's Greenland, here's Norway, here's Novaya Zemlya, here's Russia, Alaska, Canada, and so forth. I'm seeing a lot of levels of yellow coming up from the Arctic, coming up from the middle and from this East Siberia Sea, and there is some like orange and red coming up here. So we do have methane coming up here. It's not in the red zone like we have been seeing, but we are seeing the red zone still a lot over Norway and coming up through the Atlantic Ocean, the opening there, and then from Siberia, Russia, and on over. But it's not as heavy as it has been, it doesn't look like, probably because it's cooler temperatures. But we are still seeing, like I said, methane is releasing from the North Pole onward, it looks like. to me in that orangey color. And that reading, we have to make the PDF file to look at the chart. So that color is about 1960 parts per billion. And then into the gold, 1940. And then the gold is 1960, and then the orangey is 1980. And then the orangey red is 2000, then 220, 240, and 75,600 is this, like that black area. So we're looking at around 1920 to 1940 parts per billion, and 1980 coming out over the North Pole here. And yeah, and a little bit going into the 2000. This is 2000 here. Now let's stay on methane here, and let's change our base time to yesterday. And let's run the movie with the base time is yesterday, and then we'll see what they're forecasting the methane to be for the next few days. Okay, we got a lot coming off of Alaska. Look at that. And then over the ocean there. Okay, we've got a lot coming off of Norway and Finland and coming over the ocean here and coming up into the ocean here. And then more reds going into Russia. And more of the orangey stuff coming out from the East Siberia Sea. So we're not out of the woods yet with methane. Even though it's getting cooler, it's still coming up, still being released. It's not done. Here goes our movie. Takes a while for it to load up. Still coming up over by Novaya Zemlya. Look at this wave going across. Still got a lot coming up out of Canada. That's from melting permafrost. A lot coming up out of the US. Wherever you have permafrost or swamp area or civilization, you're going to have methane. Look at China and so on. So let's get the world view now. Here we go. Oh my God. Look at that black blob there. That's what we were looking at. Let's run this movie. We get to see the whole world view. And we've got green. It's coming up out of the Antarctic. It's out of the green level. The blue is a little lower than the green. So it's coming up. It'll be interesting to watch the Antarctic as we go into their melt season and their summertime and see what methane and type stuff is coming up there. Okay, here it goes. It's loaded up. There's that. Now let's do carbon dioxide. We haven't looked at that in a while. Here's your world view. This defaults to total column. And let's just get our chart for a reference. We can see like these browns, like that's 418. This is parts per million. It goes up to 1,000. That dark brown is 1,000. And then when you get the blue-green, that's lower, like about 400 parts per million. And then it's anywhere in between. So we can run this movie. Let's run it from today, and we'll do the forecast. Get that loaded up. We can see the highest carbon dioxide is showing up in South America at this point. And that's where we saw that sulfur dioxide plume come up and the ozone. So that could be burning of the Amazon, where they're cutting down the rainforest, or it could be, you know, earthquake activity, geologic activity, or it could be a whole combo plate. Combination of things. It's hard to say. But you wouldn't think there would be that much carbon dioxide in South America. I mean, I wouldn't think that. I would think it's pretty pristine, but, you know. never know. And then there are higher levels over here across Africa and Saudi Arabia and India and so forth, and then across the US. So, and then across Australia as well. So this is our climate cast update for Sunday, September 9th, 2018. Time is short. We need to get our spiritual houses in order and get ready for whatever is coming down. My name is Margo. My website is margoshealingcorner.com. And until next time, I love you guys. Go in peace. God bless. Goodbye.